Loud. Okay, so today we're going to talk about, because this is all we have, our experience of the seen, the unseen, and the reseen worlds. So, all traditions that I'm aware of talk about the unseen. Even science acknowledges that 4% of what we see is what we see, and everything else is dark energy and matter. And, we don't really kind of see what's going on. And there are those transcendent kind of other places that we can go, or maybe we've experienced, or maybe we haven't experienced. But even if we haven't, we probably would all be able to accept the idea of the scientific view that there's just a lot here that we're not seeing, that is this other matter. But the matter for us is most of the times the seen world. So the quality of what we can see is related to how settled we can be. So it's kind of like, which I haven't opened this yet, but the magic 8-ball, right? That's part of the reason we practice, right, is so that, because the magic 8-ball only gives any answers when it settles. And I don't even know what this is. Maybe it's a broke. I got a bad one. Who knows? I haven't opened it yet. But this idea that, again, coming back to the center is tremendously important for having any clarity, because otherwise, really, what's the point of doing any practices? I mean, again, we're not meditating. We're not practicing to be good meditators. We're not practicing to be, I don't think, good humans. We've already established we are. We're practicing so that we can take it with us wherever we go, which is, an ideal. So this is also related to, all these terms like karma, for example. Oh no, everyone's going to just abscond the gathering because we're going to talk about karma. But let's, really work with a very practical understanding of karma, as oftentimes people will translate it as, cause and effect. So the internet loves to say, well, that's your karma. That's, it's your fault, basically. Right? It's a way to shame people. You must have some really bad karma. So we're always generating karma, which is essentially just the fruits of what we've just chosen or has just happened. And some of that is what we choose leads to the next thing, and some of that is just the stuff that's already happened before. So the major insight, the big enlightenment for the Buddha under the Bodhi tree, was seeing everything the way it was connected. And, oh man, everything comes from something else. And that something else is not me. It's not me. It's not self, but it's also not me. So if you think about this in terms of a baby being born, so like somebody cut your cord and it wasn't you, right? So I find this helpful, because what happens is things are pulling on us all the time. Things in the scene world, somebody's needs attention, or somebody wants, the cat throws up, or, there's honking outside, or we're hungry and we feel that and we need to take care of that, or we need to run to the powder room, or whatever it is. And there are a lot of things that are going on here. And there are a lot of things that are going on out there. And they're all really can be quite distracting from cultivating that experience of equanimity. So again, equanimity is not it's not as mysterious, I'm learning, as I thought it was. Ajahn Amaro was talking the other day about, I mean, who knows when it was, because it was a podcast. actually, I think it was fairly recently. He was talking about equanimity, or in the Pali, that's upeka, as serenity, which is very interesting. Well, serenity already is a charged word for a lot of people, okay? Because many people are familiar with the serenity prayer. And that, so that could just see how that just did that? It was like all I did was change the word. And it changed how I feel. It changed, I mean, perhaps it just changed where you went. And maybe it wasn't here. You're like, oh, and suddenly just realize, got to come back and recall. I think this experience, particularly in indigenous traditions of recalling our power, is really important, and recalling the power back to the center, which we'll also talk about. So in terms of karma, so what if we look at it in terms of, there's always going to be, it's like there's always going to be a thing until there's not. I mean, there isn't, this is the kind of, if you understand karma as best I can understand it, it's really freeing, and or it can be really paralyzing. Like, oh crap, don't step on a crack, you'll break your mother's back. Like, that is the feeling of, now I can't, everything I do is going to be a butterfly effect. Everything I think, everything I feel, right? So, but understanding that this is what we do. We're humans. We're generating, even the meritorious things are generating like a quality of karma. So try to imagine someone, can you even imagine a being without any karma? It's almost like a being with no charge, which is kind of always how I interpreted and didn't really like Buddhism and or equanimity. Because, like, what's the fun in that? That sounds terrible. I don't want to just be there and be nothing, and it's just nothing. And, also misinterpreting, the middle way doesn't mean moderation. It's not what it means. That wasn't the intention. Although it is used that way. It can be used that way. And in recovery, it's helpful to think of it. Maybe it's helpful. I don't know. I'm not sure it's helpful to think of equanimity that way, or to think of the middle way as really being moderation. Recovery, uncovering, recovering, come back to this center where everything is still, everything is complete, just as it is, right? That sounds great. I wish we could do that, but we have a giant bag of Dubble Bubble. Oh my gosh, the smell. It's just, woo! It's really, I haven't had some of this in a while. Anyway, so this is what we're gonna do. So just, is everybody familiar with Dubble Bubble, Leah? I don't know if yeah. Anyway, so just take a moment and just consider them. Close your eyes. Use your senses and your ability to recall at some point. It's just like smell-o-vision in your mind, to recall what I'm smelling here, the crinkliness of the paper, and just notice whatever is coming up. Could be a memory, could be some kind of strong feeling. So this is what's happening in the scene world, right? I'm looking at these and I'm making a sense contact with it. And what's happening here and here is I'm thinking about being 4 years old on Whipple Court and trying to learn how to blow a bubble, and really just sticking my tongue out into the gum and just going, I don't understand how to get from here to there, and feeling like, because nobody can really teach you how to blow a bubble, can they? That's just my own thing. So that's not happening right now. And it's happening right now because we are these magical transport vehicles of the body mind, are bringing that memory back through a series of explosions in my, in my mind, and a chain, reactions that are happening, whether you want to think of them as more cosmic or more physiological and scientific, or both, which is my favorite, to have both. It's bringing all that to mind like it's happening now, which is the trouble with trauma. I hope no one has any trauma associated with gum, but you might. I mean, there could be that. So what I'm saying is, we get knocked off our course by lots of things, and the karma in some ways is a conversation between ourselves, our inner and outer, and ourselves and the whole cosmos. It's kind of a measurement. I don't want anyone to take calipers to themselves and think that they're trying to measure their practice. That's not what I mean. I mean, if we can look at it clearly, it's a conversation that we're having. We do these things, we think these things. This happened when I was 4, so this is happening now. If that hadn't happened when I was 4, I wouldn't have that memory. So it's kind of an ongoing conversation into the past and into the future most of the time, and it's not really what's happening right now. Because right now I have a bag of Dubble Bubble, and I'm sitting with some people that I really enjoy being with, trying to see things clearly. And that's all this is, this moment. That's it. It's all we have. And we get tricked all the time. I'm over here, I'm over there. And so coming back to this moment it's so critical. This is, by the way, not where we were going today, but if anyone's familiar with the writer Joan Didion, I don't know if you've seen the documentary. We watched that the other night, and it's called The Center Will Not Hold. So, and I would just encourage anyone to watch that and to feel free to challenge that, because I noticed how much when I was watching that, just from the perspective of my own, like, this is all my own stuff, my own conditioning, to challenge that and say, I don't agree that the center will not hold. I think that's the fundamental piece of this idea of equanimity and serenity amidst it all is, the center, well, ultimately the center will hold, and it's not even there anyway. So how can we use this? Being conscious of I mean, ultimately, it's kind of like a big salad spinner. I love those things when you're a kid, and I don't know if anyone else used the salad spinner, but the whole thing is centrifugal force. And so you put the greens in, you put the water in, and it has the bowl and the sieve part, and you start pumping it, and it spins and spins and spins and spins, and then the lettuce inside, or whatever's inside, is magically dry and still and ready for use. So it's like, how do we get to that point, the ready for use point? That's the part, because this part is tiring, this part is just confusing, so how do we put the thing, like, accept the fact that this is a process, that this is what we all are doing all the time. There's nobody who is, I don't think, exempt from this process of constantly out, in, above, below, spin, have a moment of clarity. Oh, well, can I use this? I hope so, but if I can't, put it back in my toolbox. It's medicine for later. So finally, I'm just going to tell this tiny story. I did post a picture of the fawn, didn't I? Okay. So there were 2 fawns that were born behind the barn this week. And Otto and I happened, actually, he's the one who noticed. and we walked down behind the barn. We just had a little urge that we needed to go down there in the morning. And the mother just, of course, went away. And so there were these two. And I went over and immediately I'm thinking, well, what do I do about this? Like, I'm immediately already thinking, what do I, and school hasn't started, and it's, right? So I walk over there and I start talking to them. And one of the fawns wobbles out from the blackberry bramble and the honeysuckle and like wanders out and is, they're just born and just towards my voice. And then I'm thinking, oh my God, what have I done? What? This is like karma, right? Like, why did I do that? Why did I, am I interrupting? Is this, it's just me kind of measuring myself in the moment of what's happening and really recognizing whether or not I'm interfering. Oh no, or is she going to imprint on my voice? And then am I going to mess up there was just a whole lot of stuff. And it really required putting it down and and Otto said, I think we better just go back to the house. I think we better just go back, And so this has been a long experience with them and worrying about them coming back and the mother coming back. And for me, really recognizing how important it is to remain uninvolved, which is something that you'll hear in lots of, and that's not to say, detachment and remaining uninvolved doesn't mean I don't care. It doesn't mean that. It's full on compassion and caring without the compulsion to do anything about it. The compulsion, which sometimes is, it's very strong. Now, of course, we need to take appropriate action. But this idea of just not doing anything is pretty radical. Especially when you just, like, who am I? Do I really think I'm helping Mother Nature? Me with my opposable thumbs, I really think I'm helping? Like, is it my job? Is this my job? So stepping back and just, again, I think that's not the same as step on a crack, break your mother's back. Oh no, that's not. That's very clearly looking at what's here and acting in accordance with what is needed in that moment from the whole picture of things. What did Otto need? What did I need? What did those fawns need? What did the mom need? What did whatever else, everything else, what was happening, what was needed. And then at the end of the day, bowing to it with cupped hands, which is, this is just the final thing. For some reason, this came up so much this week that, sometimes we'll bow, and in yoga we'll bow, and we don't really talk about that gesture, that Anjali gesture, but it's really, it's cupped. It's not cheerleading. It's not this. It's cupped hands, which is funny because that's my conditioning. Like, why am I trying to? It's gentle, and it's holding it here and here lightly. If I were to give you a drink of water from my well, my personal well, that's all I have to give, I would do it in cupped hands, because these are the tools that are attached to my own body, and you would receive it that way as well. So it's just I'm not sure why that, something about, because equanimity wise, the right hand is our experience. These are the methods, these are the tools, these are the things that we're learning. This was totally fascinating to me to find that this is exactly in Tibetan Buddhism. This is, in the right hand, that's our tools, this is our methods. Left hand, that's our wisdom. And we have to break, that's why in the meditation posture, oh no, I'm just gonna up. That's why they're laid on top of each other with the thumbs touching. Because we have to bring those two things together. And we have to do it in any moment. To be able to do it in any moment, that's pretty bold to think that, but still we do it. We can do it. And then we can come back. Sorry, I'm twitching around. So, okay, I'm going to stop this and see I just would love to know what you all think about the idea of the equanimity. And let me stop this.